All right, welcome back, football degenerates, to another episode of the Draft Podcast, part of the Gem City Sports Podcast Network. I'm your host, Paul Adamaszek, and today we're diving headfirst into the chaos, the hype, and the sheer athletic absurdity that is the NFL Combine. It's February 26, 2025, which means we're just hours away from watching grown men in spandex run faster than I sprint to the fridge during a commercial break. Trust me, that's saying something. The Combine. It's the NFL's annual job interview from hell, where prospects get poked, prodded, and timed like they're auditioning for the world's most overanalyzed track meet. This isn't just about who can bench 225 pounds until their arms fall off, or who can leap over a small building in a single bound. No. This is about who's going to shine, who's going to flop, and who's going to make us question why we spent hours debating a 40-yard dash time. Spoiler alert, it's me. I'm the one debating it. You're welcome. No. Today, I'm here to arm you with the takes you'll need to sound smarter than your buddy who still thinks the Wonderlic test matters. The NFL Draft isn't just a spectacle. It's the culmination of months, even years of evaluation and projection. Teams aim to shape their future by selecting players who can impact their rosters for years to come. But deciding which prospects are worth the investment requires more than just watching game tape. It's piecing together a complex puzzle of athleticism, skill, character, and that's where the Combine plays a crucial role. The Combine isn't just about 40-yard dash times or bench press reps. It's about gathering standardized, verified data that levels the playing field and allows teams to compare prospects consistently by measuring athletic traits like speed, agility, explosiveness, and strength. The Combine provides a snapshot of each player's physical potential. But this data isn't just one piece of the puzzle. When combined with game tape, interviews, background checks, it helps color in the picture of each prospect, giving teams a more complete understanding of who they're drafting. A key tool that relies heavily on Combine data is the Relative Athletic Score. You might have heard of this, RAS, R-A-S. RAS measures a player's athleticism relative to other players in the same position by normalizing Combine results and generating a score from 1 to 10. This allows scouts to compare a prospect's physical traits to historical averages, highlighting those with exceptional athletic potential or revealing limitations that could impact their NFL success. By combining Combine metrics with a player's size, weight, game performance, RAS creates a comprehensive athletic profile, offering scouts a more nuanced way to how a player's athleticism will translate to the NFL level. In this way, the Combine isn't just an event, it's an essential tool for helping teams make informed, data-driven decisions on draft day. The collective attention of the football world now shifts to Indianapolis, a city that has hosted the Combine since 1987 and will continue to do so through at least 2026. The first NFL Combine was held in Tampa Bay back in 1982, and since it has evolved into what some call the Super Bowl of scouting. Its importance can't be overstated, as teams use the results to make pivotal decisions about which players they'll build their future around. This year's Combine runs from Monday, February 24th through Monday, March 3rd, with the marquee on-field workout starting tomorrow, Thursday, and running through Sunday. The athletic testing we'll see tomorrow on Thursday. We'll start with the defensive linemen and the linebackers. Then on Friday, we'll see the defensive backs, the corners and safeties, as well as the tight ends. On Saturday, this is where they put it on national television. The quarterbacks, the wide receivers, the running backs all get their go. And on Sunday, they finish up with the offensive linemen for the athletic testing. Eligibility for the Combine isn't open to just anyone. All college seniors are automatically eligible following their final year of collegiate play. Underclassmen who declare for the draft and meet all NCAA and NFL requirements can also participate. Interestingly, even athletes who aren't currently playing college football can qualify as long as they align with their natural draft year. So, how do players get invited to this prestigious event? The selection process is extensive, highly selective, and even a bit secretive. Input from all 32 teams is used by the Player Selection Committee, comprised of a rotating list of scouting directors and NFL player personnel members who remain anonymous. Every eligible player is thoroughly reviewed, and those who receive enough votes are invited. The goal is to ensure every player with draft potential gets a chance to prove themselves in front of the most comprehensive group of NFL representatives. This year, 329 players received combine invites, slightly up from last year's 321. The stakes are high, as a standout performance at the combine can elevate a player's draft stock, while a poor showing could lead to a slide down draft boards. This year's draft will be held in Green Bay, Wisconsin, with the first round kicking off Thursday, April 24th. Rounds 2 and 3 will follow on Friday, April 25th, and the final 4 rounds are set for Saturday, April 26th. This year's draft will comprise of 257 total picks, which include the compensatory selections. So when you do a combine primer and you start looking at what do people want to hear about, what do people care about in the combine, the first thing you go to is the 40-yard dash. So the question is, who will be the fastest man in Indianapolis? The scouting combine is all about speed, and the 40-yard dash is always the main event. Last year, Kansas City Chiefs rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy set the current record with a jaw-dropping 4.21 second run in the 40, narrowly beating out John Ross's 4.22 from 2017. That skyrocketed his profile into a first-round selection. This year, a group of speedsters is looking to dethrone Worthy as the fastest man in combine history. For my money, USC cornerback Jalen Smith leads the pack. Smith's track background is world-class with a verified 10.18-second 100-meter time during his college career. It's flying. He reached an eye-popping 21.6 miles per hour on tape this season, showcasing his ability to cover a lot of ground and close on ball carriers. Smith is the favorite to break Worthy's record, but he's not the only one who could light up the track. Here's a couple of guys who might have a shot at it. Out of Virginia Tech, running back Bashul Tutin reportedly clocked over 23 miles an hour on film and is projected to run a sub 4.3. Despite his blazing speed and over 2,000 rush yards, he's still projected as a day 3 pick due to questions about his pass blocking. An eye-popping 40 at the combine could change that. How about another one? A wide receiver, Isaiah Bond from Texas. This guy's hinted on social media that he's gunning for Worthy's record. With a projected 4.28 second 40, Bond's speed makes him a dangerous deep threat at the next level, even if his college production was modest by comparison. Another guy I like, wide receiver from Baylor, Monterey Baldwin. Now, this guy's the dark horse in the race. Small in stature, 5'9", about 172 pounds is what he's listed at in his college. He's projected to run in the mid-4.2s. Pair that with elite explosiveness, make him a potential game changer as a returner. I think of this guy like Jakeem Grant, or if you're going back a little bit further, Trindon Holiday. Another couple of guys I would not sleep on. Washington State wide receiver Kyle Williams. He hit 21.36 miles per hour this season on film, showing off his separation skills, and then he put up a record-setting performance in the Holiday Bowl, his last game of his career. Another guy, Iowa State cornerback Darian Porter, posted over 21.26 on the Zebra tracking software, sticking with some of the fastest receivers in college football, and he was noted as the fastest player at the Senior Bowl, which is impressive. Finally, Virginia safety Jonas Sanker hit over 20.8 miles per hour on the Zebra tracking software. And another guy, Oregon wide receiver Tez Johnson at 20.6. They both bring elite range and playmaking potential and should clock among the fastest times at their positions. So those are the guys, if you're looking for who's the fastest guy in Indy, if you're a gambling guy, who's going to run the fastest 40, those would be my top 6 or 7 that I might wager money on. I don't bet. I'm the worst gambler in America. I might be giving you the worst advice possible, but game speed, film-wise, those are the fastest players of the combine for my money. Now, for this episode, I wanted to do, there's 329 players. I couldn't possibly break them all down. So I want to know, or I wanted to know for myself, who do I find to be the most intriguing players to watch? Who has the most to win? Who has the most to lose? So I have a list of, I don't even know how many I ended up with. My wife was sick over the weekend, and I was just on my computer writing this up. So I have a bunch of guys who I think are intriguing, who I think if they turn in good athletic performances, you could hear their names on all the draft, everything, all across the media sphere. So I broke this up into offense and defense. I didn't do a player per position. There's a lot of players at a bunch of different positions, but there's not like one per. So I'll start with the offense, and then I'll go to the defensive side of the ball. These are my 2025 Combine most intriguing players to watch. I'm going to get a sip of coffee for this because, oh yeah, that's fantastic. Most intriguing players to watch. Offensive side of the ball. Got to start with quarterback. Got to sell some tickets. QB I'm most intrigued to watch. It's not Shadur. It's not even Cam Ward. Jalen Milroe, not right now. The spotlight is going to be on Jackson Dart, the QB from Ole Miss. Now, the Jets advisor Rick Spielman said at the end of the Senior Bowl week in Mobile that he believes Dart will be a first-round pick. Does that mean he could go as high as 7th overall to the Jets? I don't know. To elevate his draft stock and enter the top QB conversation, he'll need to prove himself as an elite passer. He's going to have to demonstrate precise timing, accuracy, and consistency during throwing drills, particularly on intermediate and deep routes. We'll be watching his ability to throw with anticipation and hit receivers in stride, showcasing a potential to excel in a timing-based NFL offense, and that'll be pivotal in his final evaluation. Dart will also need to show improved footwork and mechanics to silence doubters, me, about his consistency under pressure. He has some good film, but his lows are deeply concerning. If he can display advanced decision-making in interviews and showcase his arm talent during the throwing sessions, Dart could position himself as a first-round pick coming out of Indy. He should throw and not wait till pro day. I did want to add that in as a little asterisk at the bottom of my breakdown. Jackson Dart, please throw at the combine. Got to do it at the combine with players you're not familiar with. Don't wait till the pro day. Shadur is an entirely different camp than you are, bud. Throw at the combine. QB Jackson Dart. All right. Next guy to watch, most intriguing player at the combine. I think he's going to explode. Tight end Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green. Have you heard of this guy? If you haven't yet, you will. Bowling Green listed him at 6'4", 230 pounds. He's 20 years old. He turns 21 in July. No tight end in the history of college football. Did you hear me? I'll say it again. No tight end in the history of college football caught more passes for more yards than Harold Fannin Jr. did last year. He got 117 balls for 1,555 yards. He was the only player during the regular season to post 100 yards receiving against that vicious Penn State defense. If you're a Penn State fan like I am, this guy frustrated you for an entire afternoon. 11 catches, 137 yards, couldn't be covered. Now, playing at a low-level program is the biggest knock against him, but dominating the drills and tests at the combine would align production with physical ability. Fannin right now is listed as a tight end, but has been referred to by many as simply being a football player. Will he be a tight end? Is he a slot receiver? Is he a fullback, H-back? Kind of a weird body type. His combine showing should help answer those questions, but no matter what he is, this is a guy you want on your team. Could he sneak into the second round? I think if he tests well, he certainly should. This is going to be one of the biggest risers, I believe, coming out of this weekend. Tight ends work out Friday. Next guy up on the offensive side of the ball. Can't wait to watch this guy test. You've heard me talk about him already. I may be a little obsessed. This is the running back from Arizona State. Pardon me, Cam Skattebo. He set Arizona State's single-season records and turned heads in 2024 with over 1,700 rush yards and 21 touchdowns. Also an impressive receiver out of the backfield as well. At 5'11", around 215 pounds, he's known for his strength, power, and balance, making him a great fit for a downhill running system. Couple things that he's going to need to impress with at the combine. 40-yard dash. Demonstrating improved straight line speed can alleviate a lot of the doubts about his ability to break away from defenders at the next level. He's going to have to test well in the vertical and the broad jumps, tests that measure lower body explosiveness, provide some insight into his burst and acceleration capabilities naturally as an athlete. And then finally, the three cone and the short shuttle drills both assess agility, change of direction, strong performance. He's going to need to highlight his elusiveness and quickness in tight spaces. So if he can showcase that athleticism, some versatility, and a little bit more maybe explosiveness, he might convince NFL teams he's capable of being a primary back at the next level and rise his draft stock up. For right now, he's about a 5th, 6th round guy. I see that going higher. I think he'll test pretty well. Sticking with the offensive side of the ball, I've got 2 wide receivers. I did an entire podcast on the offensive line. You can go back and listen to that. I thought I covered them pretty well. First wide receiver, just an athletic freak of nature. Out of Missouri, wide receiver Luther Burden III. Known for his explosive playmaking ability, Burden is particularly dangerous after the catch. In 2023, he ranked 3rd in the entire nation with 724 yards after the catch, and he excels in making contested catches. Over the last 2 seasons with the Tigers, his contested catch rate is 55%. You hear a lot about the 50-50 ball. With Burden, it's at least 55-45. That's what that means. Hands drills and catching under pressure will be key. Something that popped up, focus drops popped up on tape, especially in traffic. So he's going to have to prove his hands are reliable and his concentration sharp, particularly in those high pressure over the middle situations. A solid performance in the combine drills that focus on hand-eye coordination and catching in traffic could ease concerns about his consistency in securing passes over the middle. At Missouri, they listed him at 5'11", 208, so a little bit less than ideal size for the position, but this guy was the #1 overall offensive player in the country as a 5-star recruit in 2022. Hugely talented, if somewhat unknown. The draft combine should change that. Finally, another intriguing player on the offensive side of the ball. This one might get a little sad. I don't know why I entered with this guy. One of my favorite players from Ole Miss, wide receiver Trey Harris. It's really hard to put into words how tremendous Harris was for Ole Miss the last 2 seasons, especially in 2024. Listed at 6'3", 210, a guy with a combination of catch radius, body control, ball skills, allowed him to make for some extremely difficult catches. Jackson Dart was throwing him the ball. We also saw an improved feel as a route runner from Harris, making him more complete receiver as a draft-eligible junior last year. The biggest issue is that Harris appears to be a very average athlete, at least by NFL standards. If he tests as such, it could take some shine off of him leaving Indianapolis. The hardest part about projecting success from an evaluator's perspective is forecasting how easily a lack of speed and separation could hurt him as an NFL player. And Harris could be a part of that debate. Bring it all down to brass tacks. If Harris runs in the 4.6 range, you could see a massive drop in stock. Great body, great production. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of great college receivers who they just don't have the speed that is required in the NFL, and they just don't make it. So I'm rooting for Trey Harris. I really am. What a tremendous player, collegiate receiver. Got to run fast. Got to run fast. All right, so those are my offensive, intriguing players to watch. I actually have more guys on the defensive side of the ball that I'm looking to watch. The first of which you may be familiar with, especially after the Senior Bowl, Texas A&M defensive end Shamar Stewart. Now, Stewart has shown flashes of brilliance during his college career, but had somewhat limited regular season productivity, only 4.5 career sacks, which is concerning. You could put an asterisk next to that number when you go to think about drafting a guy in the first couple of rounds. Strong showing at the combine could greatly improve his prospects come draft day. He could be the biggest riser from the combine. This guy wowed everyone in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, and a player of his size and athleticism, he was measured in Mobile at 6'5", 290, is just rare. He moves like a guy who's 70 pounds lighter. If he dominates the athletic testing like I expect him to do, a Trayvon Walker type ascension into the top 5 in the 2025 draft isn't crazy. Shamar Stewart is a physical specimen for sure. The problem many seem to have with him is the sack production. He tallied just 6 sacks in 3 years. However, that stat alone can be a bit deceiving. You look at the pass rush pressure rate, which is around 12%. It's actually quite a bit above his positional average. So the deeper metrics show that he's a good pass rusher. I compared him to Chop Robinson, one of those just a step late. He led the NCAA in almosts. Like, he almost made a play, almost got to the quarterback, almost hit his ankle and took him down. Didn't quite get there, but pressure rate it affects the play. Should see those numbers go up at the next level. Hopefully the sack numbers. If he does test at an elite level and a team falls in love, his ascension could shuffle up the entire early portion of the first round. That's Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. Just write it down. Another guy, another athletic freak of nature, following a solid week in Indianapolis, Georgia linebacker Jalen Walker could generate true first overall kind of buzz. This is honest to God. This dude's a freak. He's a little bit slighter, a little bit shorter than your typical edge players. And it starts by winning the weigh-ins. If Walker comes in 10 pounds over his playing weight, which Georgia listed him at 6'2", 245, while still running in the sub 4.5 40 that we expect him to, he could jump over 38 inches in the vertical. You want to expect to hear his name mentioned as a potential top 10 pick. And honest to God, he's in that Abdul Carter-like chess piece. Walker can play both off-ball linebacker and edge defender at an elite level. He posted pass rush win rate and pressure rates near elite first-round edge rusher prospect levels, while also dominating as a downhill run defender. This is a do-it-all kind of linebacker. On top of that, we talked about character at the top of the show. This guy's been a leader and a team captain for the Georgia Bulldogs. He's won 2 national titles in his career. The NFL is going to love Walker, especially if he tests like a superhuman athlete. Again, this is an Abdul Carter-like chess piece, and he's believed to only be scratching the surface of his potential. Jalen Walker, write it down. All right, the next couple of guys, intriguing prospects. Let me see how much time. Oh, we're doing great. I got 3 corners. Defensive back coach for a long time. I love watching DBs. If you're a team that has no good corners or safeties, you realize how important they are at the NFL level. It's no surprise why these guys go as high as they do every year. When you find a freak, draft them, put them on the outside. It really helps defenses when you can just shut down the other team's top receiver, and then you're kind of playing 10 on 10 elsewhere. So we're going to start with the guy who is the prohibitive number 1, at least coming into the season at corner, Michigan cornerback Will Johnson. Now, he is a shutdown outside cornerback, perhaps the best true perimeter defender in this class. However, there is rising sentiment that his top-end speed may be a question mark. So that's going to limit his upside as a number 1 or number 2 boundary corner in the NFL. And to complicate things, he's coming off an injury that forced him to miss a lot of 2024. So a lot of questions there. So if Will Johnson can't crack a 4.5 in the 40-yard dash, this dude may drop out of the top 10 and trend more towards pick 20. That could potentially switch up the entire early portion of round 1, considering there aren't many other cornerbacks worth reaching for ahead of him. So if you look at it top-down, 30,000-foot view, Will Johnson's combine, Will Johnson's 40-yard dash. Okay, you get 2 tries. Will Johnson's 40-yard dash could have as much implication at the top of the draft as any person or any event in Indianapolis. All cameras, all eyes will be on Will Johnson's 40-yard dash. It's pivotal for how the entire draft shakes out. It's incredible. All eyes on Will Johnson. Going to be a tremendous corner. I'm rooting for him. Not a Michigan guy, but he's built right. Like I said, tough. Top boundary corners are not a dime a dozen. You just don't pick them up every year. Coming into the season, he was really the prohibitive, far and away number 1. You wonder if part of the reason he didn't look that great this year did he have a nagging injury and he was trying to play through it and then wasn't able to play after? I don't know. We're going to find out at Indianapolis. Will Johnson. Another corner I find extremely intriguing for a whole cadre of reasons. Iowa State corner, Darian Porter, former wide receiver who's been excellent since switching to cornerback. In 2023, he was listed as a wide receiver, but he was primarily a special teamer before that. This guy is super fast for someone who's almost 6'3". He broke the Iowa State record in the 400 meters in high school. High school guys, 46.99 in the 400. Incredible. Rare length for the position. Iowa listed him at 6'2 1/4, 33.5-inch arms, long, lean, fast. Another speed guy, 10.6 100-meter dash in high school. A premier special teams player. Now, you don't draft early for special teams, but bottom of your roster, you see special teams. Porter has 5 career blocked kicks in college. That's worth noting. A late bloomer, relatively new to the position. Like I said, only played cornerback 2 years at the collegiate level. A guy who's already 24 years old, but has rare athletic gifts. Someone whose athletic talents and intriguing upside, you could easily see him turning into one of the darlings coming out of Indianapolis. He's not a first-round pick. 24, he's going to go in the later rounds. You want somebody 20, 21, 22 if you're going to take somebody that early. And again, only 2 years as a corner, so there's a lot of growth potential. But hey, Chris Greer took Noah Igbenogany like 26th overall, and a guy that dude couldn't play corner at all. It took him like 5 years to figure it out. So Darian Porter, lots to work with. Probably not a day one contributor, but an intriguing athlete, and I can't wait to see how he tests at the combine. Finally, our last corner in the intrigue list, Azariah Thomas from Florida State, one of my favorites in this draft class. Had an impressive week at the Senior Bowl, impressed everyone on both sides with his skills in press man coverage. Talked a few weeks ago about how important press man is at the cornerback position. It's the first thing you look for when trying to break down who is and who isn't an NFL corner. 6'2", about 200 pounds. He's gained attention since his time in Mobile from multiple draft gurus. Thomas had a standout 2024 season, allowing just 94 yards receiving and no touchdowns on over 354 coverage snaps. He didn't have a 100-yard receiver like all season total. 94 receiving yards total. Also recorded 52 tackles, including 1.5 for loss. So it's a guy who's not afraid to play around the line of scrimmage, a physical corner, and also had 4 pass breakups and 1 interception. Obviously, they didn't throw Azariah's way that much. He was a good player on a bad team. I expect him to rise throughout the draft process. I think he's probably listed 2, 3, 4 round right now. Perhaps a high enough to hear his name called in the first round is how high I can see this guy going. A 28 to 32, the athletic principles, and like I said, the press man and physicality, you could see a team maybe trade back into the back end of the first round to select this corner. Finally, intriguing players to watch at this draft class, I'm going to say the entire defensive tackle class. You've probably seen multiple takes already about how strong this year's DT class really is, but words do not do it justice, I assure you. Of the 329 invitees, over 40 of them are defensive tackles. And every ranking service has a very different looking top 5. As a result, you can see the guys that test well will see themselves start to pull away from the pack, and players who test poorly could see their draft stock fall dramatically. Now, the consensus lock at number 1, the top of the rankings, and I won't disagree, Mason Graham out of Michigan. I expect some eye-popping numbers from him. Watch him in the 3-cone, watch him in the bench press, and the 10-yard split, which is the first 10 yards of the 40-yard dash. They'll give you a 10-yard split. That is acceleration. Those guys don't run more than 10 yards anyway. You want to see how fast they can get from point A to point B. Come out of the stance, fire forward. After Graham, though, there is a wild amount of disagreement on the next big group of defensive line prospects. So guys that you're going to want to watch: Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham's running mate from Michigan, Derek Harmon from Oregon. How about Tyleek Williams? They're all competing with one another for first-round selection. Then you've got Dayon Walker from Kentucky, TJ Sanders from South Carolina, Omar Norman Lott, a freak of nature out of Tennessee, Jordan Phillips from Maryland, Alfred Collins from Texas. All these guys right now pushing for that second round consideration, plus the wild card. How high can Darius Alexander, the freak of nature from Toledo, another mid-major, rise? The combine should help paint a clearer picture of how this talented, deep interior defensive line class ultimately shakes out. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Draft Podcast. If you're not hyped for the combine yet, check your pulse. Be sure to give me a follow on Twitter at RufusP88 for real-time reactions, spicy takes, and maybe even a little trash talk. And don't forget to subscribe to the Draft Podcast, part of the Gem City Sports Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's show, leave us a review. It helps keep the lights on and the takes flowing. Next week, I'm diving into all the madness with a combine recap, the surprises, the disappointments, the biggest winners and losers, maybe some combine superlatives. Who blew us away? Who ran like they were stuck in quicksand? Who's making me question everything I thought I knew? Until then, keep those stopwatches ready. And remember, the draft isn't a process, it's a lifestyle. I'm Paul Adamaszek signing off. I'll see y'all next week.